So we're excited that you're here, Gabby. So we're just going to jump right in and discuss the political climate. So how has the political climate been affecting your emotional well-being right now?
Yeah, great question. I would say currently, it's been a little overwhelming, to be honest. There's been so much going on, and I feel like we haven't had space to really like take a break. As people, we all work, we all have our own thing going on, and we haven't had, time to decompress going through all of these major historical events, living through all these events. But at the same time, it's brought a sense of clarity, especially in terms of what keeps me comfortable, like in my home environment or the people that I have in my life, and their motives and, kind of where I fit in their world. So yeah, I would say it's been, it's been eye-opening in a lot of ways.
Definitely. I think we can all agree that this year, and honestly since 2016, it's been just like a constant roller coaster ride, and COVID did not help.
Yeah.
But as for our second question, as a person of color, have you ever personally experienced discrimination, and how has that affected your day-to-day life?
Definitely. I am half Black, half Puerto Rican. And I grew up in a multicultural environment, but I never, like growing up, I always felt like otherized, or, not quite enough of one or the other. And I straightened my hair for a long time. I'm actually kind of like leaving it curly now, almost on principle, just because I did it for so long and I felt like I was assimilating and trying to be something that, fit into whatever box I could fit into. But yeah, definitely experienced discrimination, various points in my life. I'm kind of at a point now where, like I said, I'm trying to be more authentic, and taking, those experiences and turning them into something original and just being more authentic, being more myself.
Yeah, and I like what you just said. Like even just like our identities are so like they're still forming, right? Like as we go through, they're still forming. They're constantly changing. We're still always trying to figure out like how we come across to other people, but also like who we are, and are we enough for this? Are we enough for that? My sister and I both we have our dad is white. Our mom is Hispanic, and I think growing up, we missed out on a lot of the Hispanic culture. So I think that we didn't, we didn't think that we were enough to be in that like world. But but I think we're kind of coming into like realizing like, well, but we still have the chance to learn about it, to maybe connect with other people who, where we can feel like we're enough. I don't know. I just, that resonated.
Yeah, absolutely. And to like touch on that, I feel like the older you get after having those experiences, it's easier to find community among people who, might have experienced the same thing growing up. So kind of like we're doing right now.
All right. So you have lived in the South. Can you tell us about your experiences there as a person, part of different marginalized communities, like, for example, a biracial person of color, you're part of the LGBTQ community. Can you tell us more about your experiences down there?
Yeah, for sure. So I moved to Charlotte kind of on a whim, had never visited before. So it was a completely, going into it blindly experience. It was a good experience overall. People are very hospitable. It's a very friendly city. People want to be your friend. But I definitely noticed, especially among my white friends or my non-Black friends, just a sense of comfortability, where people want to stay in what they are familiar with, or, don't want to kind of like push the boundaries in their social circles, even when they might be able to or feel empowered to do that on social media. I don't know if that's specific to the South, but that was definitely something that I noticed a lot while I was living there. In terms of, professional life and, just outside of friendships, there definitely is some segregation. Definitely, are people who are aware of how they're oppressing others. And I learned, I was telling Jillian this, but I always felt like people who were ignorant or people who were prejudiced were just ignorant. They just didn't know, what they were doing, or, how they were coming across. But I'm realizing the older I get and, through that experience living there, that some people are very aware of, what they're doing or how they're coming across, or their privilege, and, they want to stay in their privilege. On the other hand, I did have really great experiences. I worked under an herbalist for a time, and I learned a lot about decolonization and cultural preservation. So there are definitely people doing really, really great things in the South. There's definitely both sides of the coin that still very much exist, and I felt like I experienced a lot. But yeah, definitely good people too. And as a queer person, I was able to find community in the South. And a lot of my queer friends were people of color. So I was kind of able to, find that community as well. So yeah, good experiences, eye-opening experiences, all of it.
No, that's amazing. And to continue on with your journey, so we know you grew up in a small town in Ohio and also have lived in the South. What were your coming out experiences like as both a lesbian and non-binary person?
Yeah, great question. I think I was really fortunate when I came out. Even though I come from a Hispanic background, conservative kind of background, my family was very accepting. I was the first openly queer person in my family. And, they've always welcomed anyone that I've brought around with open arms. In terms of, community, I was really religious for a long time. So that was kind of an interesting reconciling for a while, just trying to find my, my place. And I kind of had to rebuild my community in that sense. But definitely in terms of, I think Columbus is a pretty progressive city. I think, even though we're from Ohio, it's easy to find community here, find people here. And I would say the same for the South as well. And in terms of my non-binary identity, I think I've been fortunate enough to also have really good queer friends, trans friends, who kind of like guide me through any questions I have. And then also, TikTok and this whole pandemic has really allowed us to, especially working from home, like express ourselves however we want, dress however we want, or, just not perform for other people.